Hello, good people. Spot of Nerd here with an absolutely epic, incredible review that I had to get out ASAP. I was incredibly fortunate to get a heads up event thingamabob, whatever, to go and see the final film in the Mission Impossible series featuring the greatest action star that has ever existed, in my view, Mr. Tom Cruise. We are going to review Mission Impossible, The Final Reckoning, or Final Reckoning, however the fuck they say it. And I have to come out with it and say, this is a perfect film. I've been saying that a lot in some of the most recent episodes with The Karate Kid, with what else did we do? We did that Space Ash. This defines movie making at every level, from the dialogue to the cinematography to the creativity to the story. This is one of the most incredible stories that has ever existed, not just from an action film, from a Tom Cruise film, but from cinema altogether. And I'm gonna kind of break this review down into like 3 parts. I'm gonna do holy shit, this movie's fucking epic, and then of course we'll move it into more of the story, spoilers by the way, and then we'll kind of wrap it up with a little bit about artificial intelligence, because that's what this movie is all about, especially if you saw the previous film, Mission Impossible. What the fuck was it? It was basically the one before this one. It was like number 7. Look it up. Brain doesn't work. But that was also a great film. This one just is the creme de la creme, and you would be absolutely foolish not to go and see this film in theaters, because holy shit, it nails every aspect of what defines epic, incredible, all the awesome positive words that I can think of. So let's get started and review Mission Impossible Final Reckoning. It's Dead Reckoning. It's Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1, which was the prequel, in essence, to this final film in the series. I just wanted to make sure I wasn't stupid. I might be dumb, but I'm not stupid. Or I'm not stupid, but I might be dumb. One of those two. Anyway, before we get started, I would love you guys so much. If you haven't already, go ahead, give me this words. Give me the subscribe, give me the likes, give me the comments. I would love to know your take. Have you gone and seen it yet? Even though it's not out, maybe you got a special event like I did, or at least go and watch it and then come back and let me know your thoughts once you get a chance to see it. Getting to the amazing that this is going to be a first for this channel. This movie is so incredible. Normally I would do 4 cups of tea out of 4 if it was just spot on perfection and epic. First time ever, after over 250 episodes from yours truly, Spot of Nerd, I'm gonna give this an extra. I'm giving this 5 cups of tea out of 4. Yeah, that's more than 4. It's more than perfect, because it simply deserves it. I was reading an article through some of these other entertainment sites like comicbook.com, the other channels that I watch, Nerdrotic, etc. This movie is at levels of like Oppenheimer, to the point where the story comes together. This is a nearly 3-hour film, and from minute 1, you are hooked from the very moment that this movie opens up. It is just astronomically epic in every way possible, and I really do hope, obviously it's going to be successful at the box office. This is easily going to make $1 billion, especially once the word starts to get out. And so much credit to Tom Cruise. The cast, Simon Pegg, the guy who played Luther, the gal who played Grace. You have, there's the one gal from Guardians of the Galaxy. She plays in the film. She was in the the Dead Reckoning, and then of course now the Final Reckoning. Every other cast member that's in this film, there's a lot of famous people you're gonna notice here. The gal from Ted Lasso's in there. You've got the other dude that was like in Parks and Rec. You'll know, trust me, there's a lot of faces in this movie you're gonna know, and it's an incredible cast. Absolutely astounding. Everybody works beautifully together, and it really is that final piece to the Mission Impossible series. So, huge spoiler here. There's no after credits scene. It doesn't need it. I think that's what's so incredible. It not only doesn't need an end credit scene, but they finish the series out because you know that this is the final movie. The way they do it is everybody just kind of looks at each other, Tom, Simon, the rest of the group, and they basically have collected the entity. So, give you a quick cliff notes on the actual story itself. It's all about artificial intelligence, and quite frankly, it's very realistic. So it's almost scary in a way because of the way they've done this story. If you've watched all other Mission Impossible films, you will actually probably enjoy yourself a little bit more. You'll probably understand a lot more. You don't necessarily have to see the previous films. Definitely you need to see number 7. You need to see Dead Reckoning Part 1. You need to see that because otherwise you're not going to have a clue what's going on. But to give you the cliff notes, artificial intelligence has been created. It's called the Entity, and it wants to take over the world. It wants to essentially destroy the planet. It wants to take over all the the main countries' nuclear arsenals and eradicate humanity so that it can just basically start fresh, start over, create a perfect society. And it's almost like in the beginning of the film, they have this cult following of people that they know about it, and they actually enforce it. They actually want this to take place. They want humanity to reset. But of course, it's up to Ethan, Tom Cruise, to make sure that that doesn't happen. One of the best pieces to this film is they actually take you all the way back to Mission Impossible 3, where Ethan, in order to save his wife, he had to collect the rabbit's foot. Again, I'm not going to go down crazy detail around this. You have to go and watch these other films to really grasp it. But what we come to find out is Ethan Hunt, Tom Cruise, technically has been responsible for all of this. For the entity creation to what's been happening with the world. And the best piece about the film, and where I'm going with the bringing it into today's reality, especially with artificial intelligence, is truth and facts. You look at the media today, you look at the news, you look at the politics, we talk about it here all the time. We don't know what truth is anymore. We don't know what facts are anymore. And I think that's what makes this final piece to the Mission Impossible series perfect, because, this is that last step. There's not really much more you can do with this franchise. You had the nuclear bombs, you had the family, you had the CIA co-op mission type stuff, you had the saving the planet from the nuclear arms race, blah, 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 or infectious disease. So the final piece to the puzzle was nothing other than technology, artificial intelligence. So it is that kind of, they really dive deep into truth versus facts. And it really is, if you look at today's world, the sheer amount of technology and digital technology that we all possess, that is basically hackable, that is basically able to be taken over by quote unquote an entity, an artificial intelligence entity. Again, words sometimes don't come out right. Credit where it's due, because like I said, for 3 hours you are taken across a journey that is one of the greatest storytelling I've ever seen in a film in my entire life. And I am not saying that as an exaggeration or over whatever words again, but so much credit, because not only did Tom Cruise produce this, I believe, I forget who the director was, go look it up. This just takes more of that kind of like Tom Cruise being the last action hero, no pun intended for Arnold Schwarzenegger. When he goes, the world will mourn, because you will never get a film like this ever again. I don't think you will ever get an actor like him ever again. You will never get stories like this ever again. And I think that is one of the most tragic but most epic things about this final film. You cannot sit through this film and see anything negative. You might be able to maybe do a little nitpicking here and there. There's one scene at the end where we've seen through, you've seen it in the trailer, the airplane, the biplanes. So they're in this cave where they're trying to stop the entity, and he runs out of the cave because he needs to go catch the bad guy before he gets on the plane. So he runs out of this cave, and all of a sudden he's in the Sahara Desert, like Africa. And it's just a little bit like, okay, yeah, that's probably, it's probably two pieces of film patched together. I mean, that is nitpicking at its finest, so just ignore that shit. The submarine side of things, I mean, when he goes down to get these keys, so there's a key where he needs to unlock to find the source code for the entity so that he can stop it. And as the whole movie is going throughout, from minute one to the end, the entity is taking over, like I said, all the country's nuclear arsenals. What happens, the entity, once it gains control of all the arsenals, it's gonna wipe humanity off the planet. But until then, the United States is that last country to basically wipe out the entity without sacrificing millions of people. So it's a game of cat and mouse. It's a game of Ethan Hunt has always been on the run. He always has had these missions. He could have spent the rest of his life in jail, but he chose to be a part of this Mission Impossible group, and nobody ever believes him. He's always breaking the rules. He always has his team, and they're always doing things their own way. But at the end of the day, they quote unquote save the world. They save the planet through their actions. And you've seen it in the trailer as well, but when he's basically telling the president, he's like, I need you to trust me one last time, because he's done so many bad things, even though technically those bad things have saved people. They give him an aircraft carrier so that he can go down to the submarine, and this action sequence with the submarine is like, I can't even describe. There's not enough words to describe the amazing that this is. I would even encourage you to go look it up, because there's a lot of behind the scenes clips of how this movie was done. The biplane, of course, he did that was real ass shit. And the submarine stuff, minus the CGI, was really done also too underwater. I'm just flabbergasted at the amazingness that this is. And even bringing back those older characters, they go all the way back to Mission Impossible 1 just so that they can tie everything together in a nice little bow. It's absolutely fantastic. Quick cliff notes of major spoiler of how it needs to end. So what Ethan needs to do is he's already got this key. The key will open up the original place where the entity was tested and built, the original source code. So he manages to get that. But Luther, a part of the group, major spoiler, he does get killed off. He created basically an antivirus, like a poison. They call it a poison pill for the entity. So the way they're gonna trick the entity is, there's apparently this big huge server room somewhere in Cuba or something, or in Africa, I forget which country they chose, and it's where the entire existence of humanity's digital existence is. So they're going to try to trick it. They want the entity to go there, but of course Luther also created a hard drive of the exact same server room. So they want to trick the entity by going there. They're going to swap it out so that the entity ends up in this hard drive that Luther created. And then of course the poison pill will eradicate it, so that, as they say in the movie, the entity will end up as like a genie in a bottle. It will end up in a hard drive that nobody else really should have that power. Nobody should have control over this entity. Otherwise, they basically have the power of God. And yes, at the end of the film, they do it. I mean, let's be honest, this movie's going to end on a positive side. The end of the film, Grace, who joins the team, she was a thief. Look her up, or if you've seen the previous film, you know who she is. She actually gives Ethan this hard drive with the entity on it right before the credits roll, because she said that he was the only one that not only deserved this power, but he was the only one that can control it. And I loved it. I absolutely loved it, because it doesn't necessarily leave the door open for future films, but it definitely puts that final piece to the puzzle of we've completed this amazing story. We've completed these these amazing characters, story arcs, and we've saved humanity, and we've brought peace, and we've done everything that we can to make sure that the world is a better place. It doesn't leave it with a negative context. I think that was what the big piece that hit me as well, because albeit, you know, the artificial intelligence is a real thing, we as humans have to be so careful about it. And this is where I'll kind of wrap up this video, you know, with the artificial intelligence debate. I'm not a fan. I'm really not a fan of artificial intelligence. I do not think humanity not only is ready for it, I don't think they are smart enough for it, and I don't think they're responsible enough for it. That's just my 2 cents. I would love to know your thoughts in the comments. You know, I look at artificial intelligence as a very, very bad negative thing, because this movie, albeit it's fictional, it's Hollywood, is very real. There's no, I mean, watch any artificial intelligent movie like we've done reviews here, Terminator, Skynet, yada 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 yada. Humanity does not technically deserve to be what it is because of the sheer amount of damage that we cause to one another, whether it's hate, whether it's destruction, whether it's war, blah 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 blah. Now imagine a computer getting to decide that fate. It is a scary thing to think about, and I'm not trying to like over exaggerate that. I really mean that, because I look at, again, all the sci-fi genres, all the sci-fi movies and topics and ideas and blah 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 blah, Star Trek, Star Wars, Doctor Who. Artificial intelligence usually means that technology becomes sentient and decides that humanity doesn't deserve to live. That's not a good thing. And quite frankly, this movie, albeit, like I said, fictional Hollywood, broken record, spot of nerd, it really does show a picture that the entire world right now, your existence is digitalized. Everything from your television to your fucking microwave now has Wi-Fi. Your cars, look at your automatic cars. Everything has a trace back to some sort of server, some sort of computer, some way that somebody else can take control. And when you give that control to an artificial intelligent computer or technology, you don't get control anymore. And I don't like that. It scares the living daylights out of me. That's just what I mean, again, I'll wrap it up here, but it's something to think about when you watch this film, because although humanity decides to live, it wasn't their choice. It was the entity that decided, hey, you don't get to live. I found a way around all your loopholes except one, because it's Mission Impossible, it's Tom Cruise, it's Ethan Hunt. But if this was in the real world, something tells me this wouldn't really turn out the way it did. So I'll just leave you with that. Huge thanks if you made it this far. This is just an absolutely astounding, incredible film. Mission Impossible, The Final Reckoning, or Final Reckoning. I still have to look that up later, but go and watch it. You will not be disappointed. This movie is perfection on every level, and I dip my hat, if it wasn't backwards, to Mr. Tom Cruise, because holy shit, this man is God in relation to filmmaking. He is the Jesus of action stars, and I can only hope he continues to do something else. You know, I've heard Top Gun 3 is in the works. I've heard there's other movies he's doing, but I'll tell you what, this is that first movie to kind of kick off the summer blockbusters. There is going to be a lot of competition that needs to take place to make sure they do so much as a dent towards this film, because this film already takes the cake. And I'm going to say it right here and now, best film of 2025. I said that with, I think I said it was Ash or something, but verbatim, Mission Impossible 8 is the best film of 2025 so far, and is officially probably my top 10 favorite films of all time. This movie kicks fucking ass. All right, folks, I will leave it with that. Thank you guys so much. If you got this far, I really do appreciate it. Hopefully you've seen it, or if you've not seen it, let me know. Like I said in the thought words, let me know your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to know your take on the Mission Impossible series, on this movie, when you get a chance to see it, and we will see you guys in the next episode. Laters, y'all. The Mission Impossible series always is something spectacular in the way that Tom Cruise always does his own stunt. Mine, I know this might sound a little bit cliche. My favorite was, I think it was in number 5, where he's hanging off the side of like a C-130, whatever it is. The man actually hung himself off of the side of an airplane. Like, holy shit. Close second would actually be this in this movie, The Final Reckoning, where he's on the biplane. Like, holy ass crackers. Like, damn, Tom. One day you're going to kill yourself. I hope you don't, but my God, just insane. And then another one of my favorites, was when he jumps out of that C-130 at like 25,000, 30,000 feet, whatever it was. The one he did with Henry Cavill. Stunning and amazing, incredible, everything in between. But tell me your thoughts. What was your favorite stunt in the Mission Impossible series that Tom Cruise actually did? Because that man literally has balls of steel.